So welcome back to the channel guys, another chess video. Today in this video I'm going to show you one of my game in which I got my queen trapped. Yes, it happened again. I got my queen trapped on as early as move 9, but I still won in this game. And that is the speciality about this game. So let's begin. In this game I was playing with the black pieces, and I think I deserved the queen trap because in this game I broke a few opening principles, like I brought out the queen too early in the game, which was not required, and soon it got trapped by white's minor pieces and pawns. So let's begin. My opponent starts off with the king's pawn opening e4. I replied with e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and finally d4 is on the board. And sorry guys, I do not know the name of this opening. If you know the name of this opening, then you can write it in the comment section below. Anyways, I played d takes d4 and knight takes d4. Now I played queen to h4. Yes, I brought out my queen as early as move 4. Opponent plays a natural looking move, knight to c3, naturally defending the e4 pawn. I put additional pressure on the pawn via knight to f6. Opponent attacks the queen via knight to f5. I moved my queen to g4, hoping for a queen trade. I got my queen attacked once again via f3. I moved my queen to h5. G4 again attacks my queen, and in this position G6 was the only safe square for the queen to move, and that's what I played. I played queen to G6, and my opponent plays knight to h4, and as you can see, on as early as move 9 I got my queen trapped. Anyways, the game continued. I played bishop to b4, continuing with my development. Opponent took my queen via knight takes on g6, and I played bishop takes on c3, and it comes with a check. So white will have to address that first. That means white cannot take my rook. And after b takes on c3, I played f takes on g6. In this position, bishop to b5 is on the board, and I just castled kingside. Bishop to c4, check. I hit the king on h8. Opponent plays e5, which was a clean blunder of a pawn. I took the pawn with the move knight takes on e5. Opponent retreats the bishop to b3. I played b6, preparing for the bishop to b7 move to fianchetto my light squared bishop. Opponent just castled kingside in this position, and now I played bishop to b7, and now opponent plays bishop to g5, and I played h6, trying to kick away the bishop. And now soon we had a trade, and now opponent quickly plays queen to d4, attacking the knight. d6 defends the knight. Opponent plays bishop to d5, and in this position I was forced to trade the bishops, because had I moved my bishop anywhere I would have lost my rook for free. So after this series of trade, I quickly played rook a to f8, doubling up my rooks on the f file. Anyways, opponent plays king to g2, and I played knight to d7. Opponent plays queen to b7, which of course forks both the c7 and a7 pawns. I played knight to c5, attacking the queen, and in this position white has a choice to make. Which pawn should he take? Should he take the a7 pawns? Should he take the c7 pawn? Or should he retreat with the queen, which would have been an illogical move? So opponent took the c7 pawn with the queen. I attacked the queen via rook 8 to f7. Opponent plays queen to b8 check. I hit the king on h7. Opponent brings the other rook into the game via rook a to e1. I played knight to e6, and this is the critical position of the game. It was in this position that my opponent played the worst move possible. He took the d6 pawn via queen takes on d6, thinking that it was a free pawn but no, it was not. And in this position, as you can see, my rook on f6 and the queen on d6 are on the same file, so there has to be some discovery whenever the knight moves. And I chose the right move. I quickly played without much thinking knight to f4 check, which not only threatens the king but also launches a discovered attack on the queen. And after the king moved to g3, I quickly played rook takes on d6, and I got my queen back. And in this position, I was up a whole piece. Well, my opponent had an extra pawn in this position, but pawn is not a piece. So rook to e4 was the move that my opponent played, and now I played rook d to f6, and now opponent plays rook f to e1, doubling up the rooks on the e file. I played g5, opponent pushes c4. Now I played h5, opponent plays g takes h5, and I played knight takes h5 with a check. King to g4 attacks the knight, king to g6 defends it. Opponent pushes the a pawn with the move a4. In this position, I forced a rook trade with the move rook to f4 check, and after rook takes f4, I played rook takes on f4 check. Opponent plays king to h3. I grabbed the f3 pawn via rook takes on f3 check. King to g2 was the move that he played, and now I played rook to c3, forking the doubled pawns on the c file, and I ended up winning one of them. Opponent first gave me a check with the move knight to e6 check. I played king to f5, and now rook to c6 was on the board. First I gave him a check, knight to f4 check, and king to f2 was the move that my opponent played, and I grabbed the c2 pawn with the move rook takes on c2 check. King to g1 was the move that my opponent played, and I think king to g1 was a dull looking move. A more active move would have been king to f3, which would have stopped my which would have stopped my king from entering the 4th rank. So anyways, king to g1 was the move that my opponent played, and now I slowly started to bring my king into the game. First I played king to g4. Opponent pushes a5, I played b takes a5. Opponent pushes c5, I played king to f3, giving a checkmate threat on the next move. And in this position, best move for white was to sacrifice the h2 pawn to make an escape square for the king, because either the move king to h1 or king to f1 would result in a mate. So the h2 pawn had to be sacrificed, but anyways my opponent didn't saw that and quickly played rook to c8, and I finished it off with rook to c1 checkmate. And in this position, if my opponent had sacrificed his pawn, I would have still won in this position. So that's it for today, guys. And this I just showed you that how I won from a completely lost position. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks. If you enjoyed this video, then please like and share this video, and do not forget to subscribe and clicking the bell. So thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video. Bye bye.